Good evening, YouTube. Just wanted to tell you real quick about an experience I had purchasing my first hot tub. So we bought a new house, got the 3-car garage going on. Got the Corvette over here, S10 over here. This is where my wife's Cadillac should be parked, but instead I've got my brand new hot tub. It was delivered about 2.5 weeks ago. So I bought it from Costco.com. They had it on sale. Got it for about $3,000. It is the Aquaterra. This is the owner's manual that came along with it. Aquaterra spas. It goes on either 110 or 230, so that was convenient. I was able to plug it right in. I filled it up with water, plugged it in, and it had to go for, I would say, between about 12 to 15 hours before it got up to 104 degrees. You can see the number of jets that it has. It's the stainless steel bezels on them. And that wasn't the problem that I had with it. But the couple of problems that I did have with the unit was, first of all, Costco.com is where I ordered it from. And they would only deliver it to the curbside. They would not take it to the back patio. So I called a bunch of moving companies to try to see if I could get one of them to come over and move it. A lot of companies wouldn't even touch it. They didn't want the liability of potentially damaging it. I did find a couple of companies that would come do it, but they wanted about $500 to move it from my driveway to my back patio, which was about 100 feet. But that's not where the real big problem is. I ended up moving it with a couple of furniture dollies, some ratchet straps, and a neighbor helped me. We stood it up on end and was able to use pieces of plywood and push it back to the back patio. So the first night I filled it up. As soon as I started filling it up, I noticed water leaking. So this is the side that I saw the water leaking from. It was actually coming, this is the side that has the pump and everything. This is where the access panel is. But the water was leaking just out of this corner here and off the edge of the patio. So I took this panel off, tried to figure out where the leak was coming from, because in the owner's manual it does state that, you know, stuff around the pump could have come loose during shipping. All you got to do is snug it up, no problem, right? So when I took the panel off, it was coming from this direction and this direction from underneath. This has insulating foam on the bottom and everything. So it was coming from underneath the insulating foam. I could not tell where it was coming from. So it seemed like it was coming from this area of the hot tub. I tried taking this panel off, but there's no access there. So then I came around this side, tried to take this panel off. There's no access there. And once again, tried to remove this panel just for the heck of it. And there was, again, no access there. So the only access that's available is on that one side of the hot tub. The leak, I determined, was coming from underneath this filter area. Because once I drained the hot tub to move it back over here for them to pick it up, the foam underneath, that was all wet. And underneath the hot tub, it was all wet over there and going around this side. So I determined that's where the leak was. So the reason why I'm returning it is the first day I filled it up, I noticed a leak. I emailed the company that night. The company, a representative from the company, the manufacturer, Watkins Therapeutics, I think is what it is. Let's see if it says that here somewhere. I think it's Watkins Therapeutics. Yeah, Watkins Manufacturing Corporation. So here's their warranty policy, all this. I gave them, or I sent them an email, spoke to them on the phone the next day. I was like, hey, here's what's going on. And they're like, hey, you know, we're going to have to send somebody over there to take a look at it, see if it can be repaired or it may have to be replaced. So that was on a Tuesday. I spoke to them in the morning. I waited till Friday afternoon to call back. And the gentleman was like, well, I placed a few phone calls to some vendors to come out and check it out. None of them have called me back yet. None of them returned my phone call. So I'm just waiting for them to call me back. And I was like, all right, well, how much longer are you going to wait? And he was like, oh, well, and he just didn't really answer my question. So I waited till Tuesday afternoon, called him back again. I was like, sir, it's now been a full week. You know, what's going on? Have any of your vendors call you back? They gave me the same song and dance, you know. I've called out to vendors, none of them called me back, yada, yada. And I was like, I think it's about time you maybe start calling some different vendors. let's get somebody over here to take a look at this thing. It's now been a full week, and we don't even have an appointment scheduled. So I waited a few more days till that Friday, and I was like, all right, this is getting ridiculous. I waited, a full week and a half. You guys aren't getting anybody over here. So then I contacted Costco to do a return. And that's when I started having more problems. Trying to return this thing back to Costco.com is a real pain in the butt. Nobody wants to pick up the phone. Nobody wants to take responsibility. I spent 3 hours on the phone trying to get people to schedule a time to get this returned. And the way I actually ended up getting somebody to schedule a return was I called the store and said, hey, listen, guys, I'm about to go rent a trailer and bring this thing back up on a trailer and drop it off on your front doorstep. So if you don't want me to do that, you might want to schedule to have somebody come pick this thing up. And then the associate at the store called Costco.com, explained the situation, and said, you need to schedule a time for this person. So they were like, okay, we'll call them. We waited a couple days again and called that same associate back at the store. She was very irritated to hear that Costco.com did not reach out to us. She gave them another phone call, and finally today, they said, we're going to come get it tomorrow. So this thing is leaving tomorrow morning, sometime between 9 and 1. But I just wanted to share my experience with you. The hot tub was great. It worked fine. It was very relaxing to sit in. It had the waterfall, the LEDs. The 110 outlet seemed to perform just fine, keeping the hot tub nice and hot with the cover on it and everything, so that wasn't the problem. The one and only problem we had was that leak, and the manufacturer just would not come out and have it looked at. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I buy a brand new product for several $1,000s, I feel like if I'm having a problem with it, they should send somebody out in a reasonable amount of time. I mean, how many weeks do you wait having this thing leak on your patio before you say is enough and you return it? So that's what I'm doing. I'm returning it, and I'm going to take my money elsewhere, buy something else. So if you guys have any recommendations for a hot tub, definitely make sure you leave that in the comments. And thank you very much for watching. I hope this helps you out.